Have you ever scrolled through social media and felt a strange resistance when you think about posting your own photo? Everyone else is sharing vacations, meals, selfies, moments, and you're just watching, not judging them, just unable to participate. You take the photo sometimes, look at it, and something inside you says, "No, this doesn't feel right. I'm not posting this." If this resonates, if people have called you mysterious or asked why you're so private online, take a breath. Because what you're experiencing isn't social anxiety or fear of judgment or technological incompetence. Carl Jung spent his life studying the psychology of the self and how we present ourselves to the world. And if he were alive today, he'd recognize something profound about people who don't post their photos. You're protecting something that social media is designed to exploit. I'm about to share 5 psychological truths about why some people can't bring themselves to post photos online. And if you've been feeling like something's wrong with you for being invisible on social media, you may finally understand that your resistance isn't a flaw. It's your psyche protecting itself from fragmentation. The first psychological truth about people who don't post photos might be the most liberating, because it's not about what you're afraid of. It's about what you've already achieved. Most people post photos unconsciously seeking validation. They want likes, comments, reactions that confirm. I exist. I matter. I'm worthy of attention. This isn't conscious or manipulative. It's a deep human need for acknowledgement. Social media has gamified this need brilliantly. Post a photo. Get immediate feedback about your worth through measurable metrics. The dopamine hit from likes creates a feedback loop that keeps people posting, checking, seeking more validation. But through your inner work, you've developed something crucial: internal validation. Jung called this self-authentication, the capacity to know your worth without external confirmation. You don't need others to confirm your existence or worth. You know who you are independently of others' opinions. And when you've achieved this internal validation, posting photos on social media feels pointless, not from arrogance, from genuine lack of need for what it provides. Think of social media validation like a mirror that talks back. Most people post photos and wait for the mirror to tell them, "You're attractive, you matter, your life is valuable." They need the mirror's feedback to know how to feel about themselves. But you've developed an internal mirror. You can see yourself clearly without needing external feedback. You know what you look like, who you are, what your life means, from direct self-knowledge, not from others' reflections. The mirror might still reflect you accurately, but you don't need it to tell you what you already know. So, when you think about posting a photo, essentially asking the mirror, "Am I worthy?" the question itself feels unnecessary. You already know the answer, and it doesn't depend on likes, comments, or shares from strangers who don't know you. Every time someone posts a photo and refreshes to check the likes, they're asking that mirror to validate them again, and again, and again. The mirror never gives a final answer. It only gives temporary validation that fades within hours, requiring another post, another photo, another plea for confirmation. But you've stopped asking the question, not because you've given up on self-worth, but because you've found a deeper source of it, one that doesn't require constant external reinforcement. Jung described this as the development of the inner authority, when the self becomes your primary source of validation rather than the collective. This is the first reason. You've stopped needing external validation, and social media is built entirely on that need. When you've outgrown the need, participation feels unnecessary. But achieving internal validation is only the beginning. This second truth reveals something far more important about what happens to your psyche when you post online. Here's what happens psychologically when you post your photo online. You create a split. There's the you that exists in your actual life. Three-dimensional, complex, changing, breathing. And there's the you that exists in the photo. Frozen, two-dimensional, fixed in a single moment. That photo, you takes on a life of its own. It exists in others' minds, on their screens, in digital space. It gets judged, compared, evaluated, completely separated from your actual lived experience. For psychologically sensitive people, this fragmentation feels wrong at a deep level. Jung called this dissociation, when parts of the self become separated from the integrated whole. You've worked hard to become whole, to integrate your shadow, to develop authentic self-knowledge. Posting your image online creates a fragment of yourself that exists outside your control, subject to others' projections. One man Jung worked with was a photographer who'd done extensive individuation work. He took beautiful photos of himself as part of his creative practice. But when friends suggested he post them online, he felt immediate resistance. He told Jung, "These photos are intimate self-explorations. When I imagine posting them, it feels like sharing my journal entries with strangers for them to grade." Jung helped him understand. You're protecting the integrity of your self-relationship. These images are part of your inner dialogue. Jung described this as the private conversation between ego and self, and posting them would transform them from internal exploration to external performance. When you post your image online, you're no longer the sole author of what it means. Every viewer projects their own psychology onto your image. They see you through their filters, their wounds, their biases. Your image becomes a screen for others' projections rather than an expression of your actual self. Jung called this the contamination of the image, when your self-representation gets polluted by others' unconscious material. The man kept his photos private, not from fear, but from understanding that some aspects of self-exploration are too intimate to offer up for public consumption. His face, his image, his self-exploration, these belong to him, not to the judgment of strangers scrolling through their feeds. This is the second reason. You're protecting your authentic self from fragmentation. Posting photos would split your sense of self, creating a public version that exists separately from your private experience. And you've worked too hard to become whole to voluntarily fragment yourself. Now, this third lesson changes everything, because it reveals why you can't participate even if you wanted to. Most people post photos without recognizing they're performing. They think they're sharing their life or staying connected. They don't see the careful curation, the strategic presentation, the unconscious performance of identity. But you've become aware. You can see now that every photo posted online is a performance. Not necessarily fake, but a carefully chosen representation designed to create a specific impression. You see people performing happiness through vacation photos, performing success through achievement displays, performing attractiveness through filtered selfies. Everyone's curating an identity, constructing a persona, performing a version of themselves. Jung referred to this as the collective performance of the persona, where social media becomes a stage for endless identity construction. And once you see the performance clearly, you can't perform unconsciously yourself. Every time you think about posting a photo, you're aware, I'm choosing this photo because it makes me look good. I'm angling for this response. Jung described this as conscious persona maintenance, and he understood it's exhausting. The performance becomes conscious, and conscious performance is psychologically draining. Think of it like watching a magic show after learning how all the tricks work. When you first saw the magician, you were amazed. The rabbit appearing from the hat felt like real magic. You were captivated by the illusion, but then someone showed you the hidden compartment in the hat, the false bottom, the misdirection techniques. Now, when you watch the show, you can't unsee the mechanics. You see the magician's hand movements, the strategic timing, the deliberate misdirection. The magic is gone, not because it's bad, but because you understand it's a performance. Social media is that magic show. Most people are still captivated by the illusion, believing the performances are authentic sharing. But you've learned how the tricks work. You see the curation, the strategic choices, the performance behind every post. And you can't participate in performing magic tricks you now see through. You watch someone post a candid beach photo, and you see the 15 takes they didn't post. The strategic angle, the filter that smooths their skin, the caption carefully crafted to seem effortless, the timing calculated for maximum engagement. None of this makes them bad people. They're just performing unconsciously. But you can't join them because you see the performance too clearly. This is the third reason. You see through the performance. Social media is performance of identity, and you can no longer perform unconsciously what you now see clearly. If you're recognizing yourself in these truths, if you don't need external validation, if you're protecting your wholeness, if you can't unsee the performance, please understand. Your absence from social media isn't social failure, it's psychological maturity. Jung would say that people who instinctively resist posting their images have achieved something most people haven't. Awareness of how image sharing fragments the self and transforms identity into performance. Before we explore the final two reasons, check out our new guide, True Self-Discovery, with 24 practical reflection exercises designed to help you find your way within. Click below to get True Self-Discovery. Let's continue. Here's where it gets intensely personal, because this fourth truth exposes what you understand about boundaries that most people have forgotten. Most people think of privacy negatively, as secrecy, hiding, having something shameful. They can't understand why you wouldn't want to share. What are you hiding? But you've discovered something they haven't. Privacy is sacred space. Jung called this the temenos, sacred protected space necessary for psychological transformation. It's psychological territory where you can be completely yourself without adapting, performing, or managing others' perceptions. When your image is private, you maintain control over your self-presentation. You can be seen by people who know you in context, who understand your complexity, who interact with the whole you. But post your photo online, and your image enters public space. It becomes available for anyone to see, judge, screenshot, share. You lose control over who sees you, how they interpret you, what they do with your image. One man Jung worked with had done deep work on boundaries after years of having them violated. When social media became popular, he felt immediate resistance to posting photos. He told Jung, "I've created a life where my image is shared only with people I've chosen. Posting online would mean giving my face to anyone, everyone. That feels like violating my own boundaries." Jung affirmed, privacy is sacred space. You're protecting your right to control who has access to your image. Jung understood this as psychological sovereignty, your right to determine who enters your inner world. Social media treats your image as public property. Your resistance is your psyche saying, "My image is not public property." In ancient cultures, there was an understanding that images carried power, that to possess someone's image was to have a claim on their soul. Modern people dismiss this as superstition, but psychologically, it's profoundly true. When your image is dispersed across the internet, fragments of your psychic presence exist in countless unconscious minds. Jung called this psychic dispersal, and it's exhausting to the soul. The man maintained his privacy. People questioned it, called him paranoid, suggested he was hiding something. But he understood what they didn't, that choosing who sees you isn't hiding. It's honoring the intimacy of your own face, your own presence, your own image. This is the fourth reason. You value privacy as sacred space. Maintaining control over who sees your image isn't hiding. It's healthy boundary maintenance. And now, this final truth might be the most profound of all, because it reveals something about existence itself that most people never grasp. Here's what's really happening when people constantly post photos. They're creating evidence of their existence. I was here. I did this. I look like this. Every photo is proof. I exist. My life matters. I'm real. This need comes from a deeper insecurity, a fear that without evidence, without others witnessing, your existence doesn't count. Jung called this existence anxiety, the fear that your life isn't real unless others validate it. If you don't post a photo, did you really go? If you don't share an experience, did it really happen? Social media has amplified this anxiety. People experience life through the lens of documentation. They're at dinner thinking about the photo. They're at an event considering the post. Experience gets filtered through. How will this look online? But you've achieved something rare, the capacity to exist without needing external proof. You can have experiences that remain private. You can be places without documenting. Your existence feels real to you without others' confirmation. Jung described this as unmediated being, experiencing your existence directly without requiring external validation. Think of existence like being in a room. Most people need others to constantly enter and say, "Yes, you're here. I see you." Their sense of being real depends on others confirming their presence. Without witnesses, without acknowledgement, they feel like they're disappearing. Like the room they're standing in might not be real unless someone else enters and confirms it. But you know you're in the room without needing confirmation. You feel the floor beneath your feet. You see the walls around you. You experience your presence directly, immediately, without mediation. Whether others enter and acknowledge you doesn't change the fundamental fact that you're here, breathing, existing, taking up space. Social media is people constantly calling others into their rooms to confirm, "I'm here, right? You see me? My room exists. I exist." They need the validation of others seeing them to feel their existence matters. Every post is an invitation. Come into my room and tell me I'm real. But you know you're in your room without needing constant confirmation. You exist. Your life is real. Your experiences matter because you experience them directly. And direct experience is sufficient. The room doesn't become more real when others witness it. The floor doesn't become more solid when photographed. Your existence doesn't require proof. This is the fifth reason. You don't need to prove you exist. You've developed direct relationship with your own existence that doesn't require external validation through images. If you've recognized yourself in these 5 truths, please understand. Your absence from posting photos isn't about insecurity. It's about psychological wholeness most people haven't achieved. You don't post photos because you've stopped needing external validation, and social media is built on that need. You're protecting your authentic self from fragmentation that posting creates. You see through the performance and can't perform unconsciously. You value privacy as sacred space and maintain boundaries around your image. You don't need to prove you exist and have direct relationship with your existence. These aren't signs of social dysfunction. They're signs of psychological maturity. You've developed internal validation, integrated wholeness, conscious awareness, healthy boundaries, and direct relationship with existence. Jung called people like you individuated, those who've completed the psychological work of becoming whole. Jung would say, people who instinctively resist posting their images have achieved genuine self-knowledge that doesn't require external confirmation. You exist fully in your actual life, in your direct experience, in relationships with people who know you beyond your image. If you're someone who doesn't post photos on social media, I want you to hear this. Your invisibility online isn't evidence that you're afraid or insecure. It's evidence that you've developed psychological maturity most people haven't achieved. You're protecting something precious, your integrated sense of self, from systems designed to fragment it. You're maintaining boundaries most people don't even know they should have. You're experiencing your existence directly rather than through others' validation. Society will judge your absence. They'll call you mysterious, paranoid, or antisocial. They'll ask what you're hiding, why you're not visible. But you know something they don't. Your image is intimate territory. Your existence doesn't require external proof. Your worth doesn't depend on others' likes. Your life is real because you experience it directly, not because you've documented it for public consumption. So, when you feel that resistance to posting, listen to it. That's not your insecurity. That's your psyche protecting your wholeness. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to justify maintaining boundaries. You don't need to prove your life is real by documenting it for strangers. Your existence is sufficient without proof. Your face is yours to share with whom you choose. Your privacy is sacred space, and your absence from social media is evidence of something most people haven't achieved: genuine internal. If this explained your relationship with social media, subscribe for Jungian psychology that honors your right to privacy and wholeness. Click the recommended video now for more insights. Remember, your invisibility online isn't a problem to fix. It's psychological maturity protecting itself from fragmentation. And that maturity is rare, valuable, and worth protecting.